Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jersey. Today I'm going to show you how I reconstructed a tubing system using food grade containers and a water wicking system that draws the water up to the roots, and that's how it also gets fed in the pipe. We bought this last year at clearance. It is a cedar 10x10 pergola. We use this as the starting point. We bought some polycarbonate roofing to give us some shade when working in the garden. I have an antique porcelain sink that I brought from my last home. We are going to put that under there. We replicated the first pergola and built a new one, approximately 10x20. We installed a tarp over the top trellis to shade the young tender plants until we can buy a shade cloth for this area later on. We use pressure treated 4x4 for the post. The 4-inch water potable PVC tubing is what we have been using for the last several years out back, but when we built our new blogging room, we brought them out front. We re-glued them all with PVC glue, and then we added a fill tube on the end. These are our 3-inch PVC tubes for hanging strawberries. We use net cups inside of the holes, and that holds the strawberry root. We used block and we supported those with a 1x6. We tapped into our garden piping, put a shut-off valve on it, and that is how we fill up the tube. We're going to take some fence pickets and rip them down and make a flat surface for the pots to sit level on the top of the tubes before we drill holes in them. And this is the cover board. We found the dead center of each one. We're marking the board. We're going to drill a small hole, and then the small hole will get in the bottom of each one of these buckets that will feed the wick up, which I will show you later. So for this run, we just marked the center of each one. We skipped this hole because I want 5 buckets to be centered evenly on with a little bit of room in between them. That's an 1 7/8 hole saw hole, and we're going to drill the holes through each of the center that will line up with the center holes in the tubes. As you see, it takes a little bit of pre-planning. Just to note, these were the pipes that were in our backyard. Therefore, we are working with pipes that we have already had and drilled the holes. So the size of the buckets have changed and the holes have stayed the same. And this year, we're putting this top board on to keep it looking aesthetically pleasing in the front of the house. Normally, we did not ever have a board on this. So we are using the pipes that we have already had. But if you're starting a new system, it is best to have your buckets already purchased. We are actually gauging everything to the pipes that were already pre-drilled. We had a very small leak because we cut this whole system down from what I used out back. We couldn't get to it once we sealed the end on it, and I did not feel like cutting it and ripping it and re-gluing it. So we bought flex tape, wrapped it around, and it worked like a charm. We do not have any more leaks. And this is what it looks like when the holes are drilled. We're going to pre-drill holes in the sides, put screws in, and pull the gap in. This will really help to keep it level and help it from not warping. The screws will help draw it in and keep it flat for the pots. We used exterior decking screws, 2.5 inches by 9. You want the screw deep enough to draw the sides in, but not too long that it pierces the pipe inside. We spaced the screws anywhere from 2 to 4 feet apart, just enough to draw the sides in, and maybe extra if we needed it. This is a piece of brown craft paper. What we are going to do is wrap it around the top, leave about 1 inch, and cut right down the side. We're making the patterns for the whole layout. Cut the template so that it overlaps about 1 inch over each other. Tape the seam. Crease the bottom, flip it over, and tape it shut. Draw whatever pattern you like. We did 1 inch from the top, 1 inch from the bottom. We did a 3-2-3 pattern. For the sides, we did a 2-1-2 pattern. So after we did the front and the side, we're going to go ahead and drill them. Drill the center hole using a 1/4 inch drill bit would have been easier, but we did not have one. Take the pattern out and turn it over and mark the front and the other side that has not been drilled yet. This is the one side and the other side that has been drilled. We will use that dot as the center hole, and we will finish drilling all the holes. We will be using an 1.25 inch drill bit. Cleaning the burrs is optional. You can use a file, sandpaper, deburring tool. Now to get the front or back and the one other side that we did not do, put the template back on, and from the inside mark the center holes, and then you will have to drill them like you did here. And this is going to be your template going forward for all the other containers. So if you're going to do this, my advice is to get a 1/4-inch drill, drill the center of the paper, and then that will be your template. As you can see, the marks bleed through, and that's where you will drill the center holes again. Repeat the side one again. Now your template is made for the next one. Slide it off of this one and put it on the next one and continue to mark the holes. Drill the center of each one of those marked holes. And that's it. Now for this project, if you do not want to drill the holes on the side in the buckets, and you will not need this next step. I cut a piece of landscaping fabric about a 1/2 inch smaller than the bucket, wrapped it around the perimeter. Since I'm filming by myself, I put clothespins in it to hold it, overlapped it about 1 inch. This is afterthought, I forgot to add it in before. So if this was over to the pipe, I leave the pins there. I have the hole drilled, the wick coming up, all the wick stretched out, putting dirt in it, and then I would fill it up to the top with dirt, remove the clothespins, and keep these in tight in the corner so they look really nice and they stay taut. You want your cords to be at least to the bottom of the board. Yeah, it's a little overkill because the pipes are about here, but that's okay. Feed them down the hole. You want to center your hole on the hole. We have these holes matching up. This is an extra piece. I like to get the fabric a little bit wet. I line the seam up in the corner where there's not any holes. It's just something I prefer. I hand scoop some dirt in around the edges to hold it tight before I dump it in with the bag. You also have to wiggle the corners smooth before you put all the dirt in. That's what it looks like for a round one. Most of you will probably have a round one. I don't know if I mentioned, these are food grade only buckets. Do not get the orange ones from Home Depot or blue ones from Lowe's. They are not made for food. These are made for food and these are made for food. So here is a round one. I just spread the wick out, and again, they go roughly to the bottom of this. Even though it's overkill, the pipe might be up here. I'd rather have it floating in the water than to be shy in case this water ever gets low. I do not use a pump system. Now it's done. I'm going to layer a good layer of cedar mulch. It is not treated, it's all natural. I do this with all my outdoor plants. This mulch will also help the top from drying out. It takes over a week for that wicking to start taking effect. So I'm going to water this probably every other day. Leave this thick mulch on it. Good layer of this mulch. It will keep the roots cool, and it will help when I'm going to go water this right now. I'm going to saturate it until it gets all the way down to the bottom and everything gets good and soaked. This is recycled rainwater. I'm going to thoroughly drench this, and that's another reason why I like the mulch, so it doesn't flood it. You don't create a hole. You do not create air pockets. It is now 6 weeks later from the first time I started filming this. Everything is doing really well. I have not lost any plants. I took off the tarp and let the sun shine through. I hand watered every other day for approximately a week and a half. I can't say I've ever had a plant that I can remember died ever in this system that we have done and over the last decade. Now these are strings we install through the top where the gourds are going to grow and the beans and squash plant. But we wrap it across the top, we come down, and we tie it through the holes in the bucket, and then they just climb up naturally. It's a very good system. The holes in the side of the bucket allow the air to come in, and the landscape fabric makes the dirt not go out. This increases the roots to spread out toward the holes and not go around and around in a circle where it usually does and chokes itself out. We're going to drill a hole through this top board that lines up with that, and that's where we will put our manure tea. I have a full video on that. I'll leave the link below. And every other feeding, we swap it out with fish emulsion. Beats fertilizing every single one. There's no need to, because this is one continuous system that goes all the way down and around. And then we take the hose, we flush it through, so it's all pushing through, so it's all even. It's not sitting on one end or not. This is purely level. I'm going to turn the water on, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. We fill it when it needs it and flush it when it gets stagnant. And if you're interested in gourd planters, I just did a video on that. I'll leave the link below. You can use potting soil, container soil. You can use your own compost soil, mix it all together, add some vermiculite, some perlite. I used a mixture of it all and what I had on hand. I forgo the little planter markers like that. Basically, I've been switching to retouch labels. They'll stay on there for years. This is a food grade 5-gallon bucket that I got from Lowe's, and the rectangle I got on Facebook Marketplace. I would strongly suggest doing one run of pipe, maybe 10-footer, put a clean out on one end and a solid pipe on the other, or another clean out. Test this for 1 season. And here we added a 4-inch to a 2-inch reducer. Then we inserted a 2 to 3/4 inch reducer bushing. Then you can insert your hose adapter to the end if you want to directly be able to hit the spigot and have it fill up your tubes. Otherwise, you can just stick a garden hose in one of the holes. If you like this type of content, please subscribe and hit the bell, all notification, and please share on social media, give a like and a comment. I would appreciate that.